Hey, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce, joined by me, myself, and I. Just a little quick one tonight. It's a little late on a Wednesday night, approaching the 11 o'clock hour here in Chicago, but we are talking about a Cubs victory. That is right. You heard me correctly. Cubs win tonight, 3-2 over the Colorado Rockies. Quite an interesting game, to say the least. Rockies jumping out to a 2-0 lead early, and they pretty much held on to that for most of the game. But have no fear because Patrick Wisdom was here in the top of the fifth with the bases juiced. Wisdom, they rule it a double. He's almost robbed of the said play, but Tapia dropped the ball, and the rest was history because it was two outs. All three guys were running. Ortega scores, Contreras scores, Happ scores, and 3-2. That was ultimately your difference in this one. Not too shabby, might I say. Another great night from Alec Mills as well. He earns his fifth victory of the season. 6 innings for him, 8 hits, just the 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 Ks for him. So continuing to make a case for him to stay in the rotation, and then holds from Morgan and Hoyer. Love me seeing some Cody Hoyer tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about him here in a second. And then Manny Rodriguez comes in and gets his first save, gives up the 1 base hit, but he gets a strikeout as well. It's pretty good stuff. And yes, as a matter of fact, Joey, yes, we can steal. But we're not really stealing. There are friends too over at Bears on Tap as a part of the On Tap Sports Network. But yeah, let's say it. Manny put his meat on the table, baby, and it's awesome. It's awesome. It is so good to see Manny doing Manny things. I like Manny. He's really growing on me. I think he's growing on a lot of people. He's got this like somewhere between a teddy bear and Carlos Zambrano vibe going on. Like he seems like a really nice guy, but he looks intimidating. He's that big, hard throwing, righty who can hit 100 with no problem, and then hit you with a 90-mile-per-hour off-speed pitch and make you look stupid like he did in his debut. He looked really impressive tonight. Again, the little things like we talked about on so many Cubs on Taps for the last 2 weeks. It's like you got to find those storylines that you want to watch and enjoy for the rest of the season because, when the Cubs are winning, even though it's kind of garbage time wins at this point, like there's going to be something from that captures your attention. You're like, ooh, I like that. That's a storyline I want to follow. Manny Rodriguez, I think, is becoming that way for a lot. And Greg jumping in here, he said he can deadlift like 500 plus pounds and curl 100. Really strong young guy. I believe it. He looks like a strong dude. He looks like he's some dude that I would have played like high school and college football with. Just built like a brick shithouse. And no, I love it. I really like him. He's been fun to watch so far. I'm really intrigued to see his development. Alap, I totally agree with you, buddy. Love me some Patrick Wisdom, absolutely. Patty Wise just continues to get the job done. He's just quietly going about his business, getting things done, and like normally everybody was early like, oh, Patty Wise, and then he cooled off a little bit, and then like he was still good though. Like people just stopped talking about him, even though he was doing really, really, really well. And he just continues to put it together. I mean, even after tonight's game, Patty Wise still batting 278 on the season. I mean, it's not bad. He had 3 hits tonight. He was 3 for 4, had all 3 RBIs. His OPS is still a real pretty 927. I mean, he's playing more and more and more and more, and he just continues to get the job done. And it's awesome. So I'm really happy for Patrick Wisdom. I hope he keeps it up. I hope, maybe it is a part of this Cubs team for a few years as being a guy at third base that can hit for power and play pretty good defense and move around a little bit. Maybe it's with somebody else, whoever, but Patrick Wisdom is taking full advantage of an opportunity. And the way he's doing it has been incredibly impressive. But yeah, I mean, everybody really excited for Manny. Hi, Justin. Wisdom is a big part of the future coach. Hi, Justin. How are you, sir? I miss you, bud. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see. And it was nice to see Hap do something tonight. Sure, it was a walk, but like at this point, you feel like you need to see anything out of the guy. I know it's been mentioned a couple times by maybe not so much myself, but other Cubs on Tap panelists that like, I've definitely said it at least once, but like he might not be a part of this future if he keeps playing the way he has this season. So getting something out of him is great. Continuing to see Willie do Willie things is also awesome. A guy that I just absolutely adore and love in Wilson Contreras. Sure, he was 1 for 5 tonight, but again, was on base when it counted and helped score a run. And again, Hap, I mean, just the walk, struck out twice in his 3 at bats, but at least he scores a run on that walk, and Patty Wise just continues to deliver. Fargus with 2 hits tonight too. He's certainly another guy to keep an eye on. Another guy I really want to talk about, feel like he's not getting a ton of love, is Cody Hoyer. And I know everybody's probably like, oh, well, he was the less sexy piece that, you know, came in the trade. And, we're looking to the future with Madrigal, and we should be. I think Madrigal was a great pickup. But I feel like Cody Hoyer is going to become a guy that Cubs fans really like, because he almost reminds me of like a harder throwing Kyle Hendricks, if that makes any kind of sense. And the reason I say that is he induces a lot of weak contact. For a guy that throws 95, he gets a lot of weak contact when he's on. And, sure, he's coming in 8th-inning situations mostly so far for the Cubs. He hasn't had a chance to close yet. I hope he gets the chance to close at least one game this year. But he just continues to look solid. Like tonight, the Rockies get a base runner off him real quick, that one hit, but then he just dialed in, gets the foul out to Wisdom, and then they turn a double play. And you're just like, okay, hey, nice job. I like that, kid. You keep that up. And I really think Cody Hoyer is going to be a guy that Cubs fans are going to like. Again, he's kind of got that like kind of Kyle Hendricks vibe going on, like a really quiet guy and just goes about his business. But I mean, he's a big, lanky dude. He throws 95. You don't think him working in the pitching lab for an offseason is going to make him better spin rate on his breaking stuff, different things like that? I mean, he's going to be good. I'm excited for him, folks. And it's okay, Alat. It is not weird that you're not vibing about him yet. It's okay. I feel like not a lot of people are. I feel like I'm very much in the minority of this opinion of just like, I thought Hoyer was good on the South Side. Again, I have tons of friends that are Sox fans. Obviously, here at On Tap Sportsnet, we have the Sox on Tap guys. So I feel like I keep up with as much with the Southsiders as I do the Northsiders, because I just kind of have to, for sake of, helping out with the website and whatnot. So it's like, I've seen a lot of Cody Hoyer, and like he was really good last year. And then this year, sure, he struggled, but he's shown that potential. And he's shown that he can go more than one inning if you really wanted him to. And I think he has a lot of good opportunities. And Cody on board with me here. Hoyer will win hearts next year. I think he really will. I think people are going to start to really like him. Obviously not in the same way by any means. This is not an apples to apples comparison, but the example I want to use is Andrew Chafin, right? Andrew Chafin gets traded to the Cubs in 2020 as a deadline guy. Nobody really knows who he is. They're just like, oh, he's got a wicked mustache. Like, that's kind of cool. And then, like, over the course of the offseason and then into the spring training and everything, people got to learn who Chafin was. And I think Chafin, not only was he a great pitcher, but he also had that off-field personality that attracted people. And then he became a fan favorite very quickly. I think Cody Hoyer can become a fan favorite, just like Cody said about stealing hearts. Just not in the same manner, obviously. I don't think it's going to be because of his personality. I think he's just going to go out there and get the job done. It's not going to be flashy. It's not going to be, Craig Kimbrell striking out the side type stuff. But he's just going to get the job done. And I think a lot of people are going to really start to like what he brings to the table. And I keep forgetting to put this on because I'm not going to get to wear this lot this year. So we're going to throw it on. There you go. The W flag. I don't get oh my God. I can never get this thing straight on the first try. We'll get there eventually. Nonetheless, I really like what Cody Hoyer brings to the table. And he's young. I think he's only, 24, 25? I think he's 25. Like, there's so much to get from this guy. And I think 12 is just a great looking number. Maybe I'm thinking back to the Soriano days. Joey dropping a Brad Wick, Hoyer, Roman Wick, Manrod. That's a solid back end. That is a solid back end. And that's assuming that they don't find somebody else maybe that can come up and do that. I mean, I kind of allude to maybe a Braylon Marquez. I think about, when Chris Sale came up on the South Side. I think that's probably the most recent example I can think of. And, he was used as a closer to start, and then they promoted him to the starting rotation. Maybe we see something like that with a guy like Braylon Marquez if they truly think he's ready. I think That's maybe a long shot just because he literally hasn't pitched all year. But there's a very decent opportunity that like that's a candidate maybe halfway through next season to like come up and start getting some back end bullpen time. Think maybe what they did with Justin Steele originally, which was like, hey, we're gonna see what you can do, and then we're gonna throw you to the wolves and then see what you can do. And if you can keep that up, you're gonna have a really relevant role. And then I think once the team shifted this season, they were like, all right, well, you know what, we'll stretch you out. And we're actually going to talk. I want to talk a little bit about Justin Steele here in just a few minutes, but yeah, here we go, Greg. Thank you. Throwing more names here at me. Ben Leeper, Dakota Meeks, Ethan Roberts. Like they got a lot of guys right now that can come in and really compete for that like back of the bullpen. I don't think one guy is going to get the closing role for the rest of the season. I don't think that's realistic because they want to kind of like try everybody out. But I think you're going to see like 5 or 6 different guys get opportunities to close the rest of the season if they're in a closing situation or at least pitch the ninth. And just to get an idea of like, hey, can you be a shutdown guy? Are you better as a middle reliever? What do we have in you going forward? They have so many guys that are like that. And, unfortunately, a guy that isn't ready yet, but is on the way is a guy like Burl Caraway, assuming that, he continues to progress. I know he's really struggled in A ball, which isn't great. So if he turns that around, then maybe, they have a lot of those guys though, where it feels like, hmm, okay, yeah, he could be a good back end guy. I think Leaper is probably the next one that gets a call. I know quite a few people in here have been bringing him up. Not only Greg. Oh, where did I miss? Where did I miss? Give it to me. I believe it was Peter that mentioned Leaper. So I think he's the next guy that gets a chance. I really do. I think he gets a shot. And I really think Meeks is probably on the way too to getting a shot. I think both of those guys get a shot between now and the end of September to maybe close a couple games and see what they can bring to the table going into next season. But I really like so far what the two back end guys tonight have really done, kind of tying it all together. Cody Hoyer and Manny Rodriguez just getting the job done at the back end. Again, Manny Rodriguez shoving 100 is awesome. I love seeing the triple digits. I feel like Cubs fans haven't seen that in a while, especially not this year. I mean, shit, we have a 16-inch softball pitching crew in comparison in the way they throw. But, when you're Kyle Hendricks, you can make it work. And when you're Mills, you can make it work. But some of the other guys have struggled, obviously. So very, 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 very pleased with what the back of the bullpen did tonight. I think that is a huge stepping stone going into the future. And Scott from Iowa, really quick dropping in here. I thought Wisdom was in the running for Rookie of the Year, but now I'm second guessing myself. I think he still has a chance. 278 that he continues to hover around like 280 right now with average. His OPS continues to be well above 900. I think he'll be okay. I think he could at least be in the conversation. I don't know if he necessarily wins it, but I don't think it's a really strong year for rookies. Maybe I'm just totally blind to the rest of the league, which could very much be a possibility. But it'll be good. And Cody, I like this comparison. Perhaps Hoyer's the next Pedro Strop. Maybe. I especially as like that 8th inning guy, right? I mean, Pedro owned that role, even though he, got shots at closing games. And I think they would do that with Hoyer too. But like that was his normal job. Like, hey, you're the 8th inning guy. You get us to whoever's closing for us. And just white boy swag, but 5 years of consistency. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think, yeah, the consistency side, especially, like he's just he's gonna go in and just get the job done. And sometimes those guys are it's like I'm gonna use a hockey reference. I'm trying to get in the hockey brain because Blackhawks are starting back up here in a little over a month. But like it's almost like when a defenseman goes unnoticed in a game and everybody's like, "Whoa, you barely heard from him all night." It's like usually, especially for defensemen in hockey, it's like the less I see you or hear you on the broadcast, the better. Because that means you're just getting the job done. And sometimes that's all you ask of them. And like that's kind of Cody Hoyer. Like he's just kind of just chilling, just getting the job done. He's nothing flashy. It's a one hit hot boy summer Hoyer. I enjoy that, Cody. Thank you for that laugh. But he's just gonna go in there and get the job done, and just again, he might give up a hit. He's not necessarily gonna strike anybody out, but hey, if he gets 3 outs and he keeps runs off the board, I feel like the way it should go. And a lap, I like this actually, especially being an offensive lineman way back in my day, even though I was way too small. Um, yeah, good offensive lineman. The less you hear about them, the better. Absolutely. If you don't hear their name called, that's a good thing because that means they're just getting the job done and no harm, no foul. Nobody's yelling at them all game. I'm not hearing Coach Yano screaming from the press box at St. Xavier about somebody committing a penalty on the line. That gives me nightmares and some flashbacks. But no, nonetheless, again, just really, really pleased with those two back end guys just coming in, getting the job done. The offense did just enough tonight to get the win. 10 hits though, given that despite the 3 runs, but I mean, they had more hits than strikeouts. I couldn't tell you that when the last time I've seen that on a box score was, if we're being honest. So, nonetheless, Cubs win 3-2 over the Colorado Rockies tonight. Do want to talk about something else that happened tonight, though, and it doesn't necessarily involve the MLB Cubs. It involves the Iowa Cubs, and that was another Justin Steele start. So. I know everybody's kind of on Justin Steele watch right now. I know Keenan Thompson's going to join that group here very shortly. We might not see him until September, though, realistically. Steele's been down now for a while, getting stretched out to be a starter. Went 3 in his first outing, 3 2/3 in his second outing. I believe by his third outing, he was up to 5 innings of work. This is now his second consecutive 5-inning night, is what he did tonight for the Iowa Cubs as they actually won 2-1 over the Indianapolis Indians. Yes, okay, that's what I thought they were. Indianapolis Indians, which is the Pittsburgh AAA club, 2-1. And ironically, Justin Steele not only gets the win, he also drives in both runs to help himself in this one. So Justin Steele just literally doing it himself. But he goes 5 innings because it was a doubleheader. They only went 7 today. So Steele only went 5. Maybe he goes 6 if it's truly a 9-inning game. But he gives up 4 hits, only the 1 run. 2 walks, 8 Ks. He has a 1.32 ERA right now at AAA Iowa. So he looks good. I feel like this is a guy that, fans can get excited about and be, oh, what is this guy? What is he going to mean for the future? I think it's, again, one of those storylines to really grasp to and just see what he can do. And, I mean, he was so good tonight. Going, 5 of the 7 innings, as I mentioned, 8 Ks, only the 1 run, only 4 hits, and only 2 walks. I mean, he's been doing that consistently. I really haven't seen him give up more than maybe 4 hits in any given outing. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. I think 2 is actually the most I've seen him do this year. And then if he doesn't walk a lot of guys, it feels like the strikeout numbers are a little less. They hover normally around like 5 or 6. Also in less innings of work, but still like 5 or 6. But if the walks go up to 1 or 2, it seems like he has like 8 or 9 Ks. It's really weird, but that's just kind of how it is. And yeah, cool and tough as steel. Absolutely, Cody. I really think he's a guy that people need to keep an eye on. Scott calling him the next Ohtani. Hey, I mean, if he hits at all, I could kind of put him in the category of like a Bumgarner or an Arrieta maybe as a hitter, or even a Zambrano. I mean, we were talking about Manny Rodriguez earlier, looking like Zambrano. That was a guy that could swing a bat, a lap. We went from hug watch to steal watch. Yeah, more or less. But I'm really, really, really excited about Justin Steele. Again, he continually paints 98 on the gun with the fastball, even late in the starts. He's really starting to shape up as a guy that, like, hey, maybe he never becomes an ace. Maybe he's not a Kyle Hendricks. But I kind of remember when Kyle Hendricks was first starting to like really get into his groove as a starter for this team. Like, he wasn't like super flashy, but you could like at least confidently say he was like a decent 4 or 5 type option. I think that's at least where they're at right now with Steele. And if he goes up from there, awesome. Would love that. I'm a big Justin Steele fan. He's also a fan of Cubs on Tap. Follows us on Twitter. Thanks, Justin. We appreciate you, buddy. But maybe there's a shot that like he comes up and all of a sudden he gives you, number 3 starter on the World Series caliber team type play, or even a really good, number 2 on like a really decent team. Maybe he can be that next year. And maybe we see a lot of Justin Steele in the starting rotation. I would be all for it. But it's going to make these next 2 months a little more exciting, because even if he's up by, say, August 15th, which isn't terribly unrealistic. I mean, that's what, about 10, 11 days away. It gives him one more start maybe at AAA before he comes up. It would be really fun to see him, for 2 weeks of August and then a whole month of September. Just go out there and perform every fifth day. And if he puts up anything similar to what he's done in AAA, I think the Cubs can confidently say, hey, we have something here with this kid as a starter. I think the key for him, at least something, this is what I would want to watch out for, and I would expect this probably wouldn't happen much closer until September, but is letting him go past that 5 inning mark. Like, is he just going to be a 5 inning guy, like we've seen this starting rotation do all season long, besides Kyle Hendricks, or are we going to let him go Kyle Hendricks distance? Let him go at least 6, maybe 6 2/3, 7, at best, at some point this year. I think that's kind of the big, like, that would be kind of cool, see where that develops. I think so. That's another storyline, at least that I'll be looking out for when it comes to Justin Steele pitching at the big league level. But again, even if he is a 5 inning guy, at least for this season, you would hope he could stretch out a little more as a starter. I think at least 7 would be awesome if you can go 7. We'll see, obviously. But again, even if he's giving you 5 consistently this season, hey, that's better than what we were getting early in the year. I mean, I think through almost 38 days of baseball to start the season, I think the Cubs had a guy go to a 6th inning once. Like, it was miserable. Like, nobody was going deep in games. And then we saw how it affected the bullpen. So hopefully, maybe it's just this season thing going 5. But, I mean, Mills tonight going 6 is encouraging. I mean, Hendricks feels like every time he's out there, as long as he's pitching well, he's going at least 6, sometimes 7. So if you can get some of those guys in the rotation now that can go deep into games, you can keep some of these younger arms fresh, too, so you can really see what you get out of them. Like, hopefully Manny Rodriguez isn't having to pitch 2 innings every other 2 days. Or something, like that nature. It would be really interesting to see. A little tidbit here, and then I think we're going to go ahead and push forward. I mean, again, just a good win tonight. It wasn't a terribly eventful game by any means with the 3-2, but Mills settles in after giving up the 2 early runs. The bullpen shuts it down for the Cubs. They get 1 timely big hit. And that's all it took to get the job done. And sometimes those wins where you're like, hey, it wasn't pretty and it wasn't flashy or anything like that, but it's just job accomplished. It's kind of cool. It's a nice thing to see, especially out of literally watching tonight's game. If it doesn't feel real. And speaking of those Cubs that aren't here anymore, which still doesn't feel real, it hasn't totally set in for me. Rizzo set a record, 6 straight games with an RBI. First ever Yankee to do it in his first 6 games with the team. Javi had the swim slide at home plate, and he also went deep oppo for the Mets tonight down in Miami. It seems like Cubs like to hit down in Miami because Rizzo just absolutely smoked the Marlins too when he got to the Yankees. I didn't see what KB did today. I don't even know if I'm sure the Giants played, but I don't even know what they did. They might not even be, or they might still be playing. It is 11:19 now. As I'm recording this. So, yeah, feel like rubbing salt in the wound helps. And that was inspired by this comment. It just made me think a bit about home plate warrants re-signing with the Cubs. We'll see. We'll see if any of them come back. We'll see if all of them come back. We'll see if a couple of them come back, maybe only one. A lot of things will happen in the next 8 months. It'll be, by the time March rolls around next year, we'll know a lot about the next 3 and 4 years potentially of Chicago Cubs baseball after this offseason. It's going to be interesting. But for now, I'm just trying to grasp, hey, let's see what we got on this roster. And then the offseason is going to be just as ridiculous as the regular season. Unfortunately, I have that feeling for the Cubs. There's just going to be a lot of storylines. So nonetheless, Cubbies get the job done. Justin Steele gets the job done for AAA Iowa. Was that his last start at AAA? We'll find out. I think he gets probably 1 more, and then he might come up. But maybe he comes up sooner. Maybe the Cubs have seen enough, and they want him at the big league level. But again, we'll find out a lot over the course of the coming days. So we'll go ahead and move forward to tomorrow, which is the rubber match for this series. It is a daytime game, naturally, because it is a travel day for the Cubs. They will be returning home on Friday for the crosstown up at Wrigley Field against the Chicago White Sox. I will actually be there on Friday. I'm very excited about that. Be sure to follow along on the adventure because if we're being honest, I haven't been to Wrigley since it's been 100% capacity. So I'm very excited to feel what, now it might only be like 30,000 Cubs fans because the White Sox are coming, but at least just hearing the roar of the ballpark again at full capacity is going to be pretty sweet. And then obviously venturing around Wrigleyville and all the fun shit that makes going to a Cubs game a good time. So make sure to follow along with that on Friday. But again, going back to the preview here, let's get focused again. 2:10 start here in Chicago on Thursday, August 5th at Coors Field for the Cubs and Rockies. Usual suspects in both markets for watching and listening. I think everybody knows them at this point, at least for the Cubs. 670 The Score, Marquee Sports Network. KOA 850, KNRV 1150, AT&T Sportsnet, Rocky Mountains, I believe is what the RM stands for TV. TBD for the Rockies. Actually, we don't know who the hell is pitching tomorrow. It's just what MLB.com is telling us. But we do know Jake Arrieta is taking the mound for the Cubs. I know Cubs fans, everybody's going to, oh, shit. He's 5-10 with a 6.20 ERA and 69 nice Ks so far on the season. So I think for tomorrow's game, just you really hope Jake keeps the ball down, because especially at Coors, that ball will fly. We've all seen it. We saw, the first game of this series when Davies was on the mound, just got absolutely tattooed against the Rockies. Just keep the ball down. Honestly, 4 out of Jake tomorrow is like sustainable, I guess. I would love him at least to go 5 and not give up more than maybe 3 runs. And I think they're at least in the game. And then turn it over some of these bullpen arms. Get some guys some work that maybe haven't gotten work in a few days, and go from there. I wouldn't be mad about seeing Cody Hoyer again, though, if you're winning, as the Cubs. And then just enough offense. I feel like for being in Coors Field, this Cubs offense has just been so quiet. Like, somebody just get the ball up in the air and put a charge into one and see what happens. Whether that's Patty Wise, whether it's Willie. I don't know if Willie plays tomorrow. Maybe they give him the day off. Chirinos can still hit the ball out of the ballpark. Is he going to get it done? Does Bodie go deep maybe? Does Happ go deep again like he did just the other night? We'll see. We'll see what happens. But just enough offense. And Jake, please just keep the ball in the yard. Otherwise, tomorrow's going to be ugly. I will not be here talking about that one, unfortunately, though. That'll be 2 of my other great co-hosts here taking the mic for tomorrow's rubber match. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Fly the W player. I want to pick a bullpen arm. That's, I think, where we are in the season now. I mean, Cody did it all year with Andrew Chafin, but oh man, it's tough. I'm going to go ahead. No, what? Screw it. I am going to go ahead and pick a bullpen arm. I'm going to pick Cody Hoyer. I'm going to pick Cody Hoyer. Maybe they give him a chance to close tomorrow with Manny, getting the chance today if the Cubs are winning. And even if not, it'd be cool to see him work. It kind of feels like we're going to see him more so in win situations. I think Ross knows that he's pretty talented and probably one of their better bullpen arms now that, Tepera and Chafin and Kimbrel have all, been sold off to other teams. It'll be really, really, really interesting to see what happens tomorrow. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Hoyer if he pitches. And if he doesn't, then I feel like I just got to go with Patty Wise. I feel like he put a charge into one tonight. Maybe he puts a charge into one tomorrow and gets another home run and adds to his NL rookie lead in that category. Just a couple comments here before we get out of here. Can we get Brennan Davis to at least Iowa? I think so. I hope so. He was just named, in case anybody didn't see it. Cody wrote up today's news. Ryan Jensen was the minor league pitcher of the month for the Cubs organization. He's been killing it at South Bend. I'm actually going to try and get out to a game, hopefully before the end of the year. The Cubs on Tap guys are all talking about how to get out there together. To see him start, to see friend of the program Max Bain start, and then just see some of these other kids that are down at A-ball. And then hitter of the month for the organization was Brendan Davis. He's been crushing it at Tennessee. I mean, for a guy that's gotten barely any minor league at-bats, all things considered, since he's been drafted because of some injury and then obviously the dead minor league year. And, I mean, he's been really hitting well. So I wouldn't be terribly upset to see him at AAA by maybe the end of the month. It depends, though. I think, again, we got to consider, too, that minor season is shorter than the major league season. So, September call-ups and such can affect that. Maybe they say, hey, we're going to call up a couple guys at AAA. Hey, Brennan, we want to give you a chance at least at AAA. And if you can hit for the rest of the season, we'll start you there next year. If not, you're going to start at AA and, prove it to us that you can get up to AAA before you even get a sniff with the big league club. So, that'll be another thing to keep in mind. But I would love to see him at AAA. Why not throw him into the fire? He accepted the Tennessee challenge incredibly well. the leap from A ball to double A is a lot bigger than the leap from double A to triple A. So I think he would be just fine at triple A Iowa. And maybe that helps him fight for a roster spot come spring training next year. Maybe he is the everyday left fielder or center fielder, depending on what they decide to do in the offseason. And a lap with the jokes. When's Davey starting? Can't forget him. I don't know when he's starting. I think he starts actually on Saturday. I think if I did my math correctly, Hendricks takes the ball on Friday. So at least if we're going to get one win against the White Sox, hopefully it's with Kyle on the mound. And hopefully I'm there so I can be that asshole Cubs fan, because I don't ever get to do that. So maybe we'll actually do that finally on Friday and a lap fly the W. Amen, buddy. Hopefully they can fly the W tomorrow. Hopefully they can fly the W on Friday. And maybe they can take 2 out of 3 against the White Sox and really just sour the milk of the White Sox right now and everything they have good going for them. I don't hate the organization, but it's fun to rub it in. I mean, it's the crosstown. You got to get into it. This is like the one time of the year that you got to get into it. I would be absolutely pumped. And Scott even says take 2 or 3 against the Suns. Book it. Hey, I would like that. 2 out of 3 against the White Sox this weekend would be nice. But first, they're going to go for a win tomorrow to take 2 out of 3 from the Rockies. At Coors Field again, 2:10 first pitch. I will probably be listening to Pat and Ron on the radio as I will be in commute to the city, actually, to do some businessy stuff tomorrow. So that'll be all fun and dandy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining tonight. Thank you to everybody that commented and dropped in and even just said hello. Always appreciate the comments being active and lively, whether it's one of us on here, 2 of us on here, 3 of us on here. However many of us are on here. It's always nice to hear from you guys. And a lap. Thank you for the information, buddy. KB not in the lineup tonight, by the way. Interesting. Maybe giving him just a maintenance day. Maybe they know about his injury history and they're like, yeah, we're probably going to make the playoffs, dog. We need you to be healthy come said playoffs. And maybe that's what they're thinking about. So, but I appreciate that tidbit, a lap. But again, thank you everybody for joining. I do want to remind everybody that Cubs on Tap is the official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. You can go ahead and check out all of our great work over at www.ontapsportsnet.com, at ontapsportsnet on social media. You can follow the pod specific accounts. We are at Cubbies on Tap. That's Cubbies. You can follow us Twitter and Instagram for that account. I am at Loose on Tap on Twitter, and all the other great panelists here at Cubs on Tap, at Cody on Tap, at Juice on Tap, at Joe Maris, at Marty Laval, at The Riot 326, and so many more that contribute to the Cubs side of the house here for Cubs on Tap and On Tap Sportsnet. You can also catch all of our great Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks coverage. All 3 teams very busy as their seasons, as the fall seasons are inching closer and closer. And again, Cubs fans, let's be real with ourselves. We all have at least one friend that's a White Sox fan. Bring them our way as well. The Sox on Tap guys do a great job covering the Southsiders, who are in a race for to make some noise in the postseason. So that'll be interesting to see what they do on the other side of town. And our guys over at Sox on Tap have them covered. Once again, all of that at www.ontapsportsnet.com, at ontapsportsnet on social media, the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Cubs win 3-2 over the Rockies today. Winning pitcher is ultimately Mills. And Manny Rodriguez, first career save for him, holds for Morgan and Hoyer in today's game. Tomorrow's game, Arrieta versus TBD. It is an early game, 2:10, as the Cubs go for 2 out of 3 against the Colorado Rockies. I'm Ron Luce. Thank you, everybody, once again for joining us tonight here at Cubs on Tap. And without further ado, going to get out of here the only way we know how. Let's go, Cubs.